Okay, let's just jump right in. If you're keeping Zebra Danios, you already know they're stunning, highly energetic little fish. But you probably want them to do more than just survive in your tank, right? Today, we're going to dive into a complete, welfare-first approach to give these amazing creatures the absolute best possible life in your aquarium.
To get there, we'll quickly map out their natural profile, talk about building the ultimate habitat, look at their social and dietary needs, touch on a responsible breeding guide, and wrap it all up with a really actionable daily checklist.
So let's start by getting to know these guys a bit better and figure out what exactly drives all that high-speed energy. Now, they really do pack a massive amount of personality into a surprisingly tiny package, maxing out at just about 2.5 inches long. And because they're so small, it's actually super easy to underestimate how much space they really need. I mean, look at them. They have these narrow, highly streamlined bodies with those iconic horizontal black and white stripes. They are practically little torpedoes, built for constant forward momentum.
And here's something that surprises a lot of people, their lifespan. If you nail their care, you can expect your Danios to be darting around your tank for a solid 3 to 5 years. So this isn't just a short-term fling. By prioritizing their welfare, you're literally investing in half a decade of this beautiful, vibrant, aquatic energy.
Which naturally brings us to building their home. If we want them to hit that 5-year mark, we've got to mimic their natural South Asian habitat as closely as possible. And guys, there is a huge difference between a tank where a fish just survives and one where it actually thrives. A survival setup, that's your bare minimum 10-gallon tank. But to see them thrive, you've got to think wider. Since they're top to mid-level swimmers, a horizontally wide tank is an absolute game changer. They need that side-to-side swimming runway. Throw in some soft, fine sand to replicate the natural riverbeds they explore, and break up their line of sight with dense plants like java ferns and some smooth pebbles. It looks awesome, sure, but more importantly, it actively cuts down on territorial stress.
Now, as an aquarist, you are the steward of their environment, right? So keeping their water parameters dialed in is your absolute first line of defense against disease. You'll want the temperature sitting anywhere from 64 to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. For pH, aim comfortably between 6.8 and 8.0, with a water hardness around 5 to 19 DGH. If these numbers swing around too much, your Danios are going to get super stressed out. In fact, you'll literally see those bold, beautiful stripes start to wash out and fade. So keeping things stable is absolutely crucial. And we definitely can't forget about water flow. These guys come from seasonal rivers, lakes, and flooded rice paddies over in India and Bangladesh, so a gentle filter current is totally non-negotiable. It lets them swim against the flow just like they would in the wild. Oh, and unless your room stays consistently warm year-round, you definitely need a heater to stop ambient temperature drops below 60 degrees, especially in the wintertime.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about their social lives. Because let me tell you, a lonely Danio is a seriously stressed Danio.
They have this fascinating dynamic called hierarchical shoaling. Basically, they figure out who's boss through this energetic play fighting and rapid, totally non-aggressive chasing. It's actually really fun to watch. But this is exactly why you absolutely must keep them in schools of at least 5. Keep fewer than that and they become timid and stressed out. But with 5 or more, their social needs are met entirely within their own little squad, which stops them from acting erratic or getting territorial with other fish. Speaking of other fish, if you're setting up a community tank, you want peaceful buddies of a similar size that can handle the Danio's daytime or diurnal energy levels. They do fantastically well with other lively species like honey gouramis, rosy barbs, and schooling fish like rummy nose or ember tetras. You can even toss in some non-fish companions like blue velvet shrimp or African dwarf frogs for a really cool, diverse ecosystem.
But, and this is a big but, you have to know who to avoid. Obviously, skip the large predatory fish unless you want your Danios to become expensive snacks. But equally important, do not house them with slow-moving fish that have long, flowy fins. Zebra Danios are highly energetic and notorious fin nippers if they get bored or if they're kept with the wrong crowd. Keep the tanks mates fast and keep those fins short to maintain the peace.
Okay, moving right along to diet and health. How exactly do we fuel all that non-stop torpedo energy?
Out in the wild, they're eating worms, tiny crustaceans, mosquito larvae, algae, the whole shebang. So to keep them firing on all cylinders at home, feed them a varied omnivore mix. Start with high-quality flakes as your base. Toss in some greens like spinach or cucumber, and then hit them with high-protein treats. Think live or frozen bloodworms and daphnia a couple times a week. Feed them twice a day, but here's the golden rule. Strictly limit their portions to whatever they can completely devour in exactly 2 minutes.
Anything left over, get it out of there immediately to keep your water pristine and dodge those nasty ammonia spikes. Even with perfect water though, you've got to keep a watchful eye. Look out for the classic warning signs. If you see white, salt-like specks on their bodies, or if you catch them flashing, aggressively rubbing against rocks or rough surfaces, that's a telltale sign of the itch parasite. On the flip side, extreme lethargy or any skin inflammation and ulcers could point to stress-induced mycobacteriosis. If you spot any of these symptoms, don't wait. Immediately quarantine the sick fish to protect the rest of your school and start treatment right away.
So, let's talk about their legacy, specifically breeding. Because honestly, these guys breed incredibly easily. They actually hit sexual maturity at just 3 months old.
But if you want the fry to actually survive, you need a strict welfare-first game plan. Here's exactly how you do it. First, set up a separate 10-gallon breeding tank with a gentle sponge filter and bump the temp up a bit, between 71 and 80 degrees. Plump up your chosen male and female with high-protein live foods. Once the female looks visibly rounded with eggs, move the pair over. They'll usually spawn within 24 hours, scattering up to 400 tiny translucent eggs all over the substrate. Now, step 5 is the absolute deal breaker. You have to remove the parents immediately and put them back in the main tank. If you don't, they will absolutely eat their own eggs. Give it about 3 days for the fry to hatch, and then you can start feeding them finely crushed flakes until they're big enough to join the community. All right, to wrap things up, let's boil all of this down into a super actionable blueprint for your daily and weekly routine. Stick to this checklist and your tank will stay a perfect sanctuary. Keep that temperature locked in between 64 and 77 degrees. Routinely check that your pH is sitting nicely between 6.8 and 8.0. Feed them that varied, nutrient-dense diet twice a day using the 2-minute rule and scoop out the leftovers immediately. Always make sure your school never drops below 5 members. And finally, just take a minute every day to watch them. If their colors are bold and bright and they're zooming around the middle and top of the tank, you're doing an amazing job.
You now have the complete picture. You understand their biology, their social quirks, their exact diet, and how to build a tank where they don't just exist, but truly flourish. Armed with all these expert parameters, the only question left is, how soon are you going to transform your aquarium into the ultimate South Asian sanctuary? Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and happy fish keeping.